Hi, this is Jeff Lesher with What's the Point? And the point this week is that when we vote, we have started a process, not ended a process. The vote is the beginning, not the end. And of course, we all understand that we are having this conversation in the context of our voting for the next president of the United States, lots of senators, congresspeople, etc., and a lot of local officials as well. And I continue to encourage everybody to vote. In fact, I'm going to get this out the night of Election Eve, November 2nd, a little early this week, so that that encouragement is in all of your heads. If you haven't been one of the 2/3 of Americans likely to vote in total who've already voted as of today, vote by the end of tomorrow. That's the process that allows us to confirm the decision that we're going to make. And by the way, it's important to point out that when you set up a process that says if you vote by the end of the day on Tuesday, your vote counts. So whether you voted in September or you vote late tomorrow afternoon or early evening, your vote should count. And until that vote is counted, that's part of the decision-making process, there is no decision. So you can't say, well, everybody voted, but rather than count the votes, I'm just going to decide what I want the outcome to be. That's some bullshit. No matter what the decision-making process is, and I would say especially if it has to do with picking the next president of these United States. So just a little point in fact. And whenever and however we bring people together to make decisions, we need to state the rules ahead of time and then abide by them throughout the process. And ultimately render a decision, a commitment that we make to a course of action that then begins. And all of us who agree to be part of a society, and as Americans, we're choosing by being here to be part of a society, we then need to agree on the course chosen and do our best to find a good way to progress. I'm influenced in this What's the Point by two very different personalities, one of whom is Bill Maher, who said on his show on Friday that another word for democracy is dialogue. And we should all remember this, that after the vote, we need to find a way to talk with each other better, because we need to work towards something that is good, that we can live with at least, and hopefully embrace. And what's encouraging about that is that the majority of Americans on critical issues, the issues that media make out, for example, to divide us significantly, like reproductive rights and the Affordable Care Act, just as two, the majority of Americans actually agree much more than they don't. They actually agree, but we're taken away from each other by our lack of participating in direct dialogue that is reasoned versus unreasonable. And that's on both sides, if you think of it as two sides, and there are lots of different sides. So we need to talk with each other better, and certainly within an organization, we need to be able to continue to communicate and decide together what that means, where we go next, and then what that means and where we go beyond that. Voting is the beginning of the process, and having dialogue is important. The other real influence on this was Preet Bharara, whose podcast, Stay Tuned, is terrific. You can find him on cafe.com. He's a former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Really, really smart, thoughtful guy. And he has a note every week that he writes, cafe.com, I believe is where you can find it, and also records. And if you subscribe to his podcast, you can get it there. And it was only 6 minutes, I think, this week. And the gist of what he said, which I won't be nearly as eloquent in sharing, was something he had learned from a mentor, that before a verdict is returned, say in a big case, thank the people who did the hard work to create whatever the outcome is, and let them know that you're proud of them and for what. And he goes through this list of a very diverse group of people of whom he's proud, for whom he's appreciative, based on what they've done leading up to this election. And I was just really taken by that. It reminded me of the way I used to engage my soccer players when I was fortunate enough to be a youth soccer coach. And a lot of times I had really good players and really good teams, and they would win a game, but not not really play the way that we worked on and that would be best for them to continue to develop as players and to be able to sustain their winning ways. And I would say, there's an expression that it goes like this, that it isn't whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And historically, that's assigned to the losing team. But in fact, it's more powerful if you look at it from a winning perspective, that just because you won doesn't mean that you played the game as well as you could. And so for all of us, if we happen to be on the so-called winning side, we have to commit ourselves to playing the game even better, which means talking, which means, as one of my clients says in their context, seek first to understand and then to be understood. I know we could all do that better. So my point this week is that somewhere in there, I'm hoping that you do two things. Number one, you vote. If you haven't already, please let your voice be heard. Know that you made the effort to express it. And my hope is that everybody's voice will be taken into account, that people who voted will have their votes counted. And then, regardless of the outcome, let's unite around our common bond of nationhood, of all the ideals, unrealized though they may be, that we have and that together we can continue to pursue in that effort to form a more perfect union, as I alluded to. I mean, that is such an inspirational possibility. Let's do that. But I appreciate you for listening, and I appreciate you for expressing yourself, and I appreciate you for being interested in what other people think, why they think it, what that means, and how you can better work together with them. That's my point this week. I hope your point is found and validated, and together we work together to be better. Take good care.